Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. 2 weeks today I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant, and in less than 2 hours I'm going to be walking out of this flat for the last time and handing in my keys to my landlord. I'm exhausted because I've been cleaning and sorting stuff out and moving stuff for about 6 hours solid now. I've got about 1 minute before my parents come to start taking things across to their house. Thankfully they live on the other side of the same city that I live in. I just thought I would very quickly try and film something to show you how my flat's looking now. This is my lunches. I've yet to eat. It's 2:30, but I haven't had a chance to eat any lunch, and this is my bin. And that pile there is, I need to run that round to the charity shop now. These are bits and pieces for my parents to take over to their home. This is just last few cleaning bits that I might need to use over the next hour. I just want to clean things like skirting boards and walls and light switches and that kind of stuff. But I've done loads on my sink. I've been relying on YouTube videos to tell me how to clean things well, so I managed to get this shiny using bicarbonate of soda and white vinegar. I spent about a good 2 hours trying to get all like the brown off this oven. So I've managed to, I don't think I've ever seen this oven looking this clean, but it's not perfect, but I've spent hours on it. Emptied the fridge and turned it off, obviously. And then my bathroom I've also spent ages on. I found a trick on YouTube. I basically put bleach in these overnight, and then there were bits of black just on the seal, and I learnt from YouTube that if you just pour bleach along it and then just fold up a tiny bit of toilet roll and press it against it, obviously wearing gloves, so that it holds the bleach in place. When I woke up this morning, all I needed to do was remove those bits of tissue with gloves on, and obviously carefully dispose of the tissue, but it just worked like a miracle, and it looks like brand new again now. So I've been scrubbing away at that. There's me. And then just got stuff ready to go in here as well. These are my bags for the convent. Well, this rucksack's empty at the bottom, but it's just useful for the future, for carrying things around if I'm going away overnight or something. And this needs to be collapsed. That's going in my parents' loft. So that is basically how things are looking now, and I'll try and take you with me to hand my keys into the landlord as well. I'm off to take my keys to the landlord now. I've just come out of the landlord's office and I actually feel surprisingly peaceful. I'm in a bit of a rush at the moment, but maybe before I go to bed I can share a few more thoughts. Hello from my parents' house. I promised you a few thoughts and I'm just about awake enough now to share something little. My first thought is I don't think I've ever been so exhausted in my life. But I guess it's well known that things like moving house are exhausting, and this was a similar type of thing, although a bit of a different situation. And obviously that there was a lot to make sure I got right in terms of making sure I labelled everything very clearly of what few bits we've got space to store at my parents' house and what's going to charity shops, and having to completely, it wasn't as simple as I could just move things to my new home. I had to make sure I got rid of a lot of things, and right at the last minute it's quite difficult, like needing your hoover right to the last few minutes before handing the keys in, but then finding someone to give my hoover to, and just stuff like that. So actually my vacuum cleaner went to the Hindu family that live opposite me, who I've been friends with for years, and it was really sweet. They came around earlier in the day they wanted me to take photos of with them and their children, so that was really nice. So it was just nice that it was handy that I had someone to take these kind of last minute items to, but it was nice that I could actually give it as a present to
a family that would actually really appreciate it and make good use of it. So it was quite complicated. There were elements of it that were probably more complicated than simply moving to a new home. So I was physically exhausted, but also I was thinking, like, I'm so thankful or relieved that I hadn't that I've given myself space between leaving my flat and actually moving into the convent, because if I had intended to move into the convent this week, a few days after having left my flat and done that amount of cleaning and sorting stuff out and furniture moving, I would have just started at the convent like so exhausted, and that just wouldn't have been a good start. So I'm just glad that I've got a bit of space, a few more days to recover before entering this community. So I don't know how other people have done it in the past, but I just know that I would find it. I'm just really glad that I've got these extra few days. I don't know how anyone can do something that massive of leave a flat and have to get all their stuff out of a flat and then arrive at a convent a couple of days later. It wasn't too much. It wasn't like really a traumatic experience or anything. I cried for about 2 minutes just before. Once my flat was absolutely completely bare, and before I went to take my keys to the landlord, I managed to capture a few seconds of that in this video. But like I said in this video, I felt quite peaceful by the time I came out of the landlord's office, and especially on the Friday evening of this long weekend. The day when most of my furniture went and I was still like camping in my flat, I felt like each time I do one of these milestones, like handing in my notice to my employers and then leaving my jobs, each time I get to one of these of significant days, I actually feel this, I don't know if peace is quite the right word, but I feel like I've got that one bit closer to what my vocation is, and so I feel a kind of joy or peace or something. I can't quite think of the right word, but it's a nice feeling that although I've just done something very difficult, at the same time it's got me that one bit closer to where I feel I am meant to be, or where God wants me. So there's a kind of satisfaction in that as well. And actually the night that most of my furniture had gone, when I was praying that night, I felt that Jesus was somehow like happy because I was having to depend on him even more than when I'd had like more independence, because out of all of this, it's actually my independence and my autonomy and things that I've been letting go of even more so than like my possessions and my flat, if that makes sense. But I felt that Jesus was kind of like happy that I was having to trust him more, and I felt very strongly him saying that you know that you can trust me to provide for you for the rest of your life. And then the first night that I came to my parents, which was 2 nights ago now, the night that I'd like left my flat, I felt Jesus basically say thank you, and I hadn't sort of looked at it that way. But I realised that actually I am doing all of this for Jesus ultimately, and so it was quite nice that after that long day and quite significant day, it felt like God, or it felt like Jesus was saying like thank you for doing this for me. So that was really helpful and really encouraging. Like I just said, the biggest thing in all of this letting go of my flat experience is the whole thing that I'm actually letting go of my independence and autonomy, and that like making my own choices. So that's like a massive milestone that I've hit in this journey. And with the nature of becoming a postulant, where you're going in and there's a chance that it's not for you and you'll come out again, but there is always a chance that this is it and this is where you'll be for life. So there is that very real thing of that this really might have been the last time I ever lived on my own and ever I had so much independence. So it was, when you think of it as I might never have my own independence like to that degree again. It obviously was a massive, big deal. But rather than repeating myself, I made a video on that kind of topic. Like it was one of my first videos, but when I was praying about the fact that I felt God was calling me to religious life, one of the Bible passages I most felt God speaking to me through was the passage towards the end of John, where Jesus is talking with Peter on the beach and talking about like up until now you've done what you wanted, but when you get older someone else will choose where you go and all this. And in that video it's called I'll put a link to it in the description box. I can't quite remember what I called it, but there's a whole video there about what I felt God saying to me about losing my independence and having so much of my own choice in my life. So if that subject interests you, I have made a video about it already. And then the last thing that's on my mind is just, I suppose because I've moved around so much over my life anyway, there's never been like one particular place that I've called home. Like some people, they've grown up in the same home for most of their lives, so there's a very definite place that feels like home. Whereas like for so many years, like to me home always has been just wherever I am with Jesus or wherever I felt God calling me to at any given moment. And that's been really helpful in this process of like losing my flat or leaving my flat, that deep down, a bit like I don't know, when you've got like two people who are in love with each other and they can go traveling the world, and it's more the fact that they're together that is where they're grounded, or where their kind of true home is, no matter like where they're living or for however long or for however few weeks or months. The kind of outer home doesn't matter so much as the relationship. And the first night that I came to my parents, we went more or less straight out to a barbecue with my parents' friends, and so people were chatting with me and asking where I lived, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know how to answer this, but for years anyway, my kind of my deepest answer to that is to me home is Jesus somehow. I don't know how to explain it very well, but even this morning I was making my breakfast and I saw this fridge magnet on my parents' fridge. And it's so this is how I feel, but it resonates with this video too. You can't it says wherever we are together, that is home. And that's basically the kind of thing that I feel Jesus saying to me at the moment, and how I feel about this whole thing. That basically, as long as I've got Jesus and I know that Jesus is looking after me, it doesn't matter if I've got a home or not, or it doesn't matter like where I'm living, what accommodation I'm in. And I personally find that quite exciting. If that's, I don't know, that might be too strong a word, but this is the closest I've got in my life so far to saying the kinds of things that people say in the Gospels, like when the disciples say that we've left everything to follow you. This is the closest I've ever got to that. And Jesus himself says that he had nowhere to lay his head. And I've often liked reading the book of Acts in the Bible about people that don't really have a set home, and they're quite literally just going wherever they feel the Holy Spirit sending them. And that kind of like flexibility and availability to God has always really appealed to me, and has always been like really what I feel called to. So again, like kind of not having my own home anymore, actually it really resonates deep down with, it just feels very much what I am called to. I really like the prayer or the phrase by Hildegard of Bingen that talks about being a feather on the breath of God. And they're just, although obviously like losing my flat has been quite a massive and like difficult thing, and losing my independence, there is something very beautiful at the same time in now being in this situation that is a bit more like being a feather on the breath of God.